Councilmember Brandau.
Here.
Councilmember Capriolio. Here. Councilmember Olivier. Councilmember Quintero. Councilmember Jean.
All right, and we're going to kick off our morning with the invocation by Minister Bryson White of the St. Rest Baptist Church. So, Pastor, if you'd come forward, and if everybody would stand, and as soon as the pastor's done praying, we're going to salute the flag. Thank you.
Indeed. I honor all faith traditions, but I'll be praying out of my Christian tradition this morning. Let us pray. Eternal and holy God, we give you thanks for the gift of life. We give you thanks for another day in the land of the living. We give you thanks that you created us in your divine image. Today I pray that this council will promote policies in our city that reflect the fact that every person, regardless of where they live, regardless of socioeconomic status or ethnicity, are bearers of your divine image and are precious in your sight. Help this council and our beloved city place human dignity at the center of our public life together. Let this council see the value of every human life. Be with them, O God, as they make critical decisions for our city. Deepen humility. Give them and give all of us eyes to see and ears to hear. Let them follow your great commandment, love justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Attention salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which Thank you, Minister White. That was a wonderful prayer. We have a couple of ceremonial presentations this morning, and I'm actually involved in both of them. One of them was really on behalf of myself and Councilmember Baines, who's not with us today. So I'm going to go down front, and I'm going to have Kyle and Lisa join me for our Sister Cities program, and we'll get started with our first presentation. Okay, that's all. All right. Hi, Lisa. Where's Kyle? Oh, right on. Come out and join us, Kyle. Liz, I'll have you hold that. All right. This is really a group of kids that are exchange students between Fresno and our sister city in Germany, Münster, Germany. Correct. Is that correct? Correct. And so some of the kids are students from Fresno to Münster, and then some of them are students from Münster to Fresno. Is that right? All right, I'm going to let you take it from there and kind of tell us a little bit. We have a presentation for each one of the kids. And if you could kind of remind us about our Sister Cities program in general and then about this group, okay? All right, I'll let you start, Lisa.
All right, thank you. My name is Lisa Murray, and I'm president of Fresno Sister Cities, and I'm also chairman of our German sister city of Münster. Just an update on certain things that we have going on currently. We just had a dinner and served 700 plates to citizens in Fresno as a fundraiser to help support our program in all of our sister cities. We have a delegation going out to Kochi, Japan next month in the middle of the month because we're going to be celebrating 50 years of partnership, and we'll be having a celebration next year here in Fresno. And we also will be in receipt of the Lord Mayor of Münster, Germany, and his official delegation on October 4th to the 9th, and we will be having a celebration and what we're calling the Performance of Peace, which will have our Fresno Bach Children's Choir and a choir from Munster performing at the Warner's Theater. And I know that all of the council members should have been in receipt of invitations to all the festivities.
And I'm going to be there for sure. And we've talked, and you've done a great job educating me as a new council member about our Sister Cities program. And so I took on of our council members, each one of us like to take a sister city, and I took on the city of Munster, Germany. So I'll be at the delegation when it comes in October, and that's fantastic. Kyle, why don't you tell us a little bit about this group, and then I'll give each kid a presentation.
Thank you for having us, number one. But these students, I want to say about 10 of them are from Fresno and Clovis area. They attend Edison High, Bullard, Clovis North, Clovis, Buchanan, and so forth. And then about 17 kids from Munster, Germany came here. They each spend time, the American kids go first to Munster for 5 weeks. They go to school a few weeks, and then they basically have summer break there and do the experience of going to Germany and seeing different cultures and so forth. And then after the 5 weeks up, they fly back, and then these students from Munster came here 5 weeks ago, and they are all attending the Fresno and Clovis schools. And then from there, every weekend, they travel along California. Last weekend, we took them all to San Francisco. We were there for 2 days and experienced California, or at least most of it is what we're trying to do here, accomplish it. But this year, these students, I must say, are quite exceptional. I've been part of this program for somewhat 12 years now, in and out, and these kids have just been fantastic. No gray hairs on my end, which is fantastic. But we appreciate all the kids from Munster coming here, and of course the students from Fresno as well to participate and spreading their horizons outside of Fresno.
I forgot to mention one thing. I'm not sure if all the council members are aware, but in July I went to San Jose and on behalf of Fresno Sister Cities accepted an award from Washington, D.C. for the Youth and Education program that we have for cities with a population over 500. 500,000, sorry.
Oh, right. That's a big difference. Okay, so I'm going to read off a name, and then when I read your name, if you could step forward and get your presentation, and then step back in line, we'll take a big picture at the end. You can, yeah, that's a good idea. Now, Lisa told me that Kyle was going to have to pronounce some of these names. Let's see how we do. Okay, the first one's pretty easy. Cole William. Cole. Hey, thanks, Cole. And you're from? Fresno. Right on. Have you already been to Munster, or are you going?
I've been to Munster.
Beautiful. And how did you like it?
It was a lot of fun.
Fantastic, huh? Good. Okay. Jonathan Peterson. Good morning, Jonathan. Are you one of the Fresno students?
Fresno.
Are you doing all Fresno to Munster first, or are they
how
mixed?
How it's lined up here. So right
Okay.
now we have the Fresno kids first.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. And Lisa is presenting him with a pen,
Yes.
right? Let's see that pen. Beautiful.
From
Perfect.
Secretary of State Department.
Drake Walsberg. Thanks, Drake. And you're from Munster.
No.
Ah! Walsberg. I thought I was going to get that one. Okay. Dason Gann. Thanks, Dason, for participating. Absolutely.
Guess where he's from.
Oh, you are from Munster.
Fresno.
Ah, you set me up on that, man. Lars, come on. Lars has to be Munster, right? Yeah, right on. Lars winning. Hey, thanks, Lars, for coming to California and being a part of this program. Lawrence Hagman. Lawrence, thank you for being a part of this. Jonas Kaiser. All right. Jonas, nice to meet you. Nice to have you in Fresno. Leonard Krotz. Is Krotz the right way to say that? Yeah. Okay, good. Hey, Leonard, thank you for coming to Fresno. Katarina Woolering. Is that how you say it? Oh, Katarina's not with us. Okay. Nicholas. And how do you say your last name, Nicholas? Canepa. Yes. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Nice to have you with us. Sophie And Sophie, I don't know how to say your last name either. How do you say that? What? Oh, that's a shortened version? Oh, okay. Thank you for coming and being a part of this program. Did you enjoy Fresno? Okay, good. Emily Salzig. Emily, there you go. Thank you, Emily, for being a part of this program. Soren Wald. Soren, are you also from Munster?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Fresno?
Yeah, it was cool.
Oh, good. It was cool. Yeah. Katharina Hansen. And how did you like?
It was incredible.
It was. How long were you here?
5 weeks.
Oh, cool. Good to have you. Alexandra. And Alexandra, how do you say your last name?
Terhechte.
Say it one more time.
Terhechte.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Thank you for being a part of the program. David Bozetti. David, fantastic. Thanks for being a part of this. Weebica? What's that?
I believe he received my scholarship.
David received a scholarship?
I think so. Did you? No? Who was it?
Oh,
Andrew.
oh. Okay, and you're Webke? Is that who you? Weebka. Okay. Weebka, thank you for being a part of the program. Did you enjoy Fresno? Oh, good. Thank you.
Ilka.
Ilka? There you go, Ilka. Thanks for being a part of the program.
Helen.
Helen? Hi, Helen. How are you?
Helen was a real sport. We had a hard time getting her into school.
Oh, right on. Good deal. Good. Glad that you are.
Martha.
Martha? Hi, Martha. Thank you. Did you enjoy your time in the program? Okay, cool.
Katarina. Yeah, she's back.
Katarina. Oh, you're all right. You're back. Hey, thanks for being a part of the program. All right. Did you like your time?
Yes.
Oh, good. Is that everybody that's here today? We have a few more that aren't here today, but they'll get their presentations. I just wanted to say thank all of you. I wanted to thank all of you for taking up a challenge and doing something different and amazing. I've done a little bit of traveling in my life, and every time I've traveled to a different culture or a different country, it just adds a lot to your life. And I know that this will add a lot, and you'll have these memories throughout your whole life, whether you went from Germany to here to Fresno or you went from Fresno to Germany. It'll be very impactful. So take those memories with you, and then use this as a foundation and grow upon that. We really appreciate it. Let's give all of these students a hand. And then we need to crunch in, and we're going to take one big picture. If we could get the edges to crunch in a little bit. Okay.
Make sure you can see who's ever taking the picture.
Yeah. Okay. Or we're kind of blocking people.
Yeah.
Let's kind of do this. I will do this. That it? All right. Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Thank you, Kyle. All right. Good job, everybody. Yeah. Thanks, Kyle. And now I'd like Deanne and her team to come up, and we're going to have a presentation, and I didn't bring my, on Active Aging Week. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too. Good morning. Yes, Deanne. Nice to meet you. Steve.
Should be easy.
Yes, that's going to be easy. What is it?
Jess.
Jess. Nice to meet you. Peggy. Nice to meet you. All right. Councilman Baines and I co-sponsored this. It's Active Aging Week. And I'm going to let Deanne and her team talk a little bit about Anti-Aging Week, and then I am going to read a proclamation here from the city of Fresno, and we just want to recognize this wonderful week. And so I'll let you get us started.
Thank you for allowing us to be here today. On behalf of Golden Living Center Fresno and Aegis Therapies, this is a celebration of Active Aging Week. So we just want everybody to know and realize how important it is to stay active throughout your years, whether you are young or whether you are maturing, and just staying active and doing everything you can to make your body healthy, your mind, and your soul. And so this week is just about making sure that happens. And we have our delegation here from Golden Living Center Fresno across the street, a rehab center. And so they're there with us and wanted to support today the proclamation to make sure everybody understands how important it is to actively age. And we want to stay very involved here in Fresno.
And so this also promotes seniors and active adults getting out and trying different things and doing different things and maybe running for city council, things like that. Okay. And so I'm going to read a proclamation, and then we'll be done. Active adults, this is the one beef that I have with you guys. When I was reading the material, you put the beginning of active adults starts at 50. Could you have, maybe, can we move that to 55? Okay. Okay. Active Aging Week is an annual health promotion event that is set for September 21st through the 27th of this year. This year, the Active Aging Week theme of Let the Adventures Begin is a reminder that trying new things or digging deeper into a favorite activity is one way that older adults stay mentally and physically healthy. The first Active Aging Week was observed in 2006, and whereas each year more organizations host Active Aging Week, bringing together older adults, youth, family, and friends for days of new adventures, education, and fun. These events at Golden Living Center Fresno, all designed at a local level, showcase the abilities of older adults and link them to options for active living, which promotes health, well-being, and important community connections. It's never too late to experience new adventures, whether they are big or small. And an adventure can mean a physical trip or a destination of the heart and mind. Now, therefore, be it resolved that that Councilmember Steve Brandow, Oliver Vanes, do hereby declare September 21st through 27th to be Active Aging Week in the city of Fresno. Yay, let's give them. I'm going to give that to you. And now, is there anything else that you'd like to add, or how about Steve? Yeah. No.
We just
Okay.
really appreciate you being here and allowing us to bring our contingent out. We walked down the street here in Fresno to get over here.
Perfect.
And really, truly enjoy being a part of downtown.
And you left council some gifts. We
Wanted to-
appreciate that. Sal, I think, already ate his cookies.
I did.
The one thing that we have done, and we have been on the news before, is that some of the group here do what are called cookie bandits, and we have popped into different businesses around Fresno and delivered cookies without them knowing it, and
Nice.
so we thought that this might be a perfect opportunity to
Well, we love that.
cookies are from our cookie bandits.
Yes, thank you.
President
So
Brandow?
Yes.
I'd like to say a few
Sure,
words.
Sal.
I wanted to welcome all the active teenagers that showed up this morning. Wanted to welcome you and thank you. And those of you that are part of the greatest generation, a special thank you. You've done a great job in laying the foundation for us. If you've helped lay the foundation for making Fresno a great city, and I want to thank you because we owe it all to you. So, thank you, and stay active, please.
Right
Thank you.
on.
And I like your Arctic blonde hair, as Congressman Costa calls it, Arctic blonde hair. So that's good.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know what? Let's take a picture. Thank you.
So much. Really
Yes, we appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Have a great day, and thank you to all of our active adults that came out, and the balloons and the little gifts that you brought. We really appreciate your service to our community. Thank you very much. One more round of applause for these folks. Mm-hmm. You noticed that. All right. Well, that's a great start to our day. We are on to the next item, which is the approval of some city council minutes from previous meetings. The first one is approval of city council minutes from September 11th, 2014. Madam Clerk, were there any changes to those minutes?
No, there were no changes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. The second meeting we have to approve minutes for is August 28th, 2014. Madam Clerk, were there any changes to those minutes?
Actually, this is really a amendment to those minutes that were approved
Oh,
on
that's
the
right.
11th, yes. And the change is adding Director Cardell's amendment to I guess it was the effective date. It read July 1st, and it should have been the 25th of August.
Okay.
And so we made that correction, and it needs your approval.
All right. So we're actually going to approve an amendment to the minutes on that day. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved. And a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Now we are on to council member reports and comments. And Councilman Quintero, you've punched up.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Manager, the usual. Wanted to thank you. Tuesday we had the first general plan update proposal at Sunnyside High School, and I want to thank you for being there, showing up, and answering any questions that folks had, as well as Jennifer Arnaldo did a great job on the presentation, and it's one of the few times that I've been to general plan meetings outside of City Hall that we had a good representation from staff, so I want to thank you for that too, because there was some follow-up questions that needed answered, but those directors that were there that didn't respond, that didn't have any questions asked, at least they were there, and I know there'll be some follow-up questions and concerns, so thank you very much. It was very successful, and we got good feedback during the week, and we're going to do some follow-up questions on that. So thank you very much. Really appreciated it. This weekend also at Mosqueda Community Center, we're having our second annual Carnaval for the elementary school children. Last year, we were able to get 5,000 children there, and this year we're looking to get more children. It's a one-day event. Everything's free for the children, and everyone is welcome, and I want to thank especially the Parks Department for the great job that they've done in coordinating that, Chris and Sean and those folks. And then also, of course, the big day, 500,000 people show up to Southeast Fresno. It's the start of the Big Fresno Fair on October 1st, and the 11th there's going to be the partners of the owners that own California Chrome are going to make a special appearance, and California Chrome is not going to be able to attend, but he'll be running in a race. So anyway, it's a lot of good events, and I wanted to also thank the code enforcement folks and our parking folks, and as well as the Median Island cleanups that are being done in preparation for the fair. So wanted to thank all the staff. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Capriolio.
Thank you. I also wanted to join in the statement of appreciation to the city staff for our 2035 general plan update, as well as Hoover High School, where we had the meeting, and it was really really beneficial. The citizens that attended had good questions, and And our staff, of course, was prepared and answered those. And then we segued into a town hall meeting for District 4 at Hoover High School. And the questions were a little bit different than the 2035 plan, but of course our staff that was present answered all those questions, and there were a lot of happy constituents in District 4 when they left the room because of the quality of the answers and the assistance given by the staff of the city of Fresno. So thank you all very, very much. I really appreciated that, and continued success on your meetings on the 2035 plan. I know there's 2 more coming, I believe. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Councilman Brand.
Want to follow up on, I have not had my meeting yet, but on Tuesday, the September 30th at 5:30 at Clovis North, we're going to have the District 6 general plan meeting, so anybody is welcome to come, including other councilmen, assuming we don't exceed 3. Thank you.
All right. That is it for council members who've punched up. So we are on to the approval of today's agenda. Madam Clerk, have there been any changes to today's agenda?
No changes.
No changes. Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
There is one item I'd like to pull or continue. At the 10:10 a.m. item, it's 14-380. I'd like to set that over for 2 weeks. No. It's a 10:10 a.m. timed item, 14-380. If we could set that over for 2 weeks, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve today's agenda with that item being continued? And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving today's agenda and continuing that item, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 6-0. So now we are on today's consent calendar. And I'd like to invite any members of the public to come up and address any of the items of today on today's consent calendar. All right. Oh, here we go.
Good afternoon, Council President Brandow and members of the Fresno City Council. I'm Nicole Gehring. I'm the Associated Director. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Associated Builders and Contractors Northern California chapter. We are an association of roughly 450 members who perform commercial, industrial, and public works construction, and many of our members do public works for the city of Fresno. And I just wanted to get some clarification on consent agenda item 1F, if I'm able to.
So if that's what you're going to ask, I'm going to pull that item.
You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And in regards to that item, I wanted to thank the city attorney Sloan for contacting the state to address getting the language removed from the loan document. And I wanted to thank all of you for your especially your vote, and Councilmember Capriolio and Councilmember Olivier's vote against the repeal of the longstanding PLA ban on August 28th. Believe it or not, the city of Fresno is the leader in fair and open competition, and since your PLA ban back in 2000, 10 other local governments and 22 states have also put fair and open competition ordinances in place. So the issue of local control is very important to your city and to the state of California, and I would continue you in your further efforts to support local control. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicole. Mm-hmm. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address any items on today's consent calendar? All right, then back up here to the dais. I had just mentioned that I am going to pull item 1F and then probably continue it, but I'd like to talk about it for just a second. But item 1F we're going to pull. Any other council members like to pull or continue an item on the consent calendar? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 6-0. So now we will talk about contested consent, which is that one item that I just pulled. That's item 1F. That's repealing a section of the Fresno Municipal Code. And what's happened here is a couple weeks ago, Well, the backstory to this is the state of California has passed a new law that's going to be effective January 1st. And in January 1st, you can a city in California can no longer have a ban on project labor agreements. The city of Fresno has currently had one of those bans, and they're going to, by law, force all California cities to remove those type of bans. But what they did is they saw that that Fresno was vulnerable because we were entering into a contract for a loan for a public works project that our city really needs. And they saw that we needed this loan, a low-interest loan, and they decided that they were going to add language to force us to remove our project labor agreements prior to January 1st. And so we had a little confusion and consternation about that a couple of weeks ago. In the meantime, our city attorney contacted the state attorney that's working on this project, and we successfully got that language removed, and I want to thank our city attorney for doing that. And that allows Fresno at least 3 more months or 2 more months to really operate before that law change comes into play. So I'm very appreciative, and the reason it is not so much about the issue itself. I have my own personal stand on that issue, as do these other council members. But what I did not appreciate was the state of California trying to bully the city of Fresno by forcing us into that action sooner than January 1st. So I want to appreciate our city attorney for working with me to help us get that language removed from that loan agreement. So we are going to get the loan. We are going to. I would prefer to continue this item to November 20th, and when we voted on November 20th, we accept this inevitability. It takes 30 days to come into effect, so it will be in effect by January 1st. And I think November 20th is the day, Doug, that we talked about that would make this effective in time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the last council meeting in which the council could approve it and still be effective by January 1.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to continue this item until November 20th. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other Councilman Zhang?
So the reason for the delay until next month or the 20th is that we know it's going to happen. Do we have projects up here that's going to be coming up that's going to deal with PLAs or not PLAs, city manager?
I'm not aware of any that are going to be coming up within the next 60 days that would be impacted one way or another.
Okay, so if there isn't, then what is the hesitation? Because it's going to happen anyway, and trying to be proactive about this, I'm a little confused. Council President.
Well, Councilman Zhang, I think we know it's going to happen. We effectively got the language removed, so it's not in there anyway for this one project that we were somewhat worried about. So we know that it's going to happen because it's going to be state law. This is going to line the city of Fresno up with all of the other cities in the state of California where the law is going to become effective on January 1st. And it's not setting us separate from all those other cities and forcing us to go early. So it's a move of principle. And I think that I'm pretty sure that it will pass on November 20th because it has to pass on November 20th. But until that time, I think that we should take a stand on principle in the city of Fresno.
Well, principally I'm on the other side, and not because, people may say that it's the PLA issue, and I just heard some comments about fair and competition and so forth. And as far as I understand the language, that's all it does is open to fair and labor competition. So I'm a little confused when we're talking about principle here. It's not forcing the city, it's not forcing people here for us to move one way or the other. It just says that this particular item could be addressed if somebody's interested in. And so we're talking about principle, then fair and labor competition is the principle of the issue. So I'm not sure I'm agreed to and why we need to be hesitant about it. We should be proactive about it and move forward because it's going to happen. There's not going to be any particular contract that's going to be impacted between those days. And why bring this issue up again when it's already been decided? I'll let the vote stand, but I'm not going to support it.
Okay.
Okay.
You're not going to support the continuance?
No.
Correct. Okay. Councilman Olivier.
Thank you, Council President. My question is for City Attorney. When are we going to, when is the judge going to hear our appeal on our lawsuit?
The appeal is just being filed. I imagine it'd be at least 6 months before we hear from the appellate court, if not longer.
Okay. All right. Well, I was thinking that maybe we would have a hearing before the November 20th, but that's not going to be possible. But it would.
I would highly doubt it.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Brand.
I want to clarify with the council that the reason that this came early and wasn't put out to, I believe by law, if we don't have a meeting, but if we did have a meeting on December 1st, that would have been the last meeting we would have had, because there's a process of going through an ordinance change that would have been effective January 1st, which would jeopardize state funds. But at the time, as Councilmember Brandel had mentioned, there was a $48 million low-interest loan that actually had language in it that would have required the immediate ban of the PLA. And we didn't do that, or we did do that because we didn't want to, just like $22 million in interest. And thanks to Member Brandau and the City Attorney, we were able to talk the state into a delay in the implementation, because it didn't make any sense. But we're always here at the mandate of state and federal regulations. We don't like them, but it's like having the gun to your head sometimes. Now that they've been successful, we can delay this. November 20th is the last date that we have on our schedule that'll comply and meet the state mandate by January 1st. And as far as fairness, I mean, I don't see that. I see it the opposite way, because in a PLA, only union shops can bid on it, and so it excludes non-union shops. So either way, we're going to have to do something. We have no choice by the November 20th meeting. We don't like it, or some of us don't like it. Others have different opinions. But everything we do here, from AB 32, the carbon offset, and all the other state legislators, these are legislative mandates they put on us. And we're a nation of laws, and we have to follow those laws whether we like it or not. And if we want to change them, we should get people, either Sacramento or Washington, to make those changes. We can't affect those at our level. So we'll see what goes on, and thank you guys for showing up.
Councilman Xiong.
I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right, then we have a motion to continue this item to November 20th and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-2 with Councilman Xiong and Quintero voting no. All right, and now we are done with our consent calendar. We're moving to general administration, and the first item, 2A, is to authorize the city manager or designee to enter in a month-to-month successor agreement with the County of Fresno to deliver and dispose of municipal solid waste during the negotiations of a successor agreement to American Avenue landfill. And yes.
Good morning, Council President, Council, and esteemed colleagues. I'm Jerry Schuber, Public Utilities, Solid Waste Division. The item before you is, simply put, is to extend the agreement that we currently have with American Avenue for a month-to-month until we conclude negotiations. I'm available for questions if you have any. So,
thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to weigh in on this issue? All right, Councilman Brand.
Well, thank Jerry for giving me the heads up on this deal. And,
absolutely, sir.
This is really a big decision because it's going to impact thousands of ratepayers, right? Both commercial and residential. Is that correct?
Yeah, the ultimate agreement will, yes.
Right, okay. And the four options, or three options. One is to renegotiate the existing contract at the American landfill that the county runs, correct?
Correct.
The second option would be Madera, or
a second option would be to actually do an RFP process and open the the playing field to the other
And if
landfills in the area.
we do the RFP, the active choices are Madera, Avenel, and Kettleman City. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so when you calculate the cost of the rate, it's not simply a tipping fee per ton. It's also going to be the cost of the trucks driving to and from the site, correct?
Processing and
so
transportation.
everything's measured by the mile, right? Labor cost, fuel cost, maintenance cost.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when do you think you'll come back to the council for a?
Well, we're hoping that we're going to have something within 45 days.
Okay.
That's what we're shooting for.
And if we decide to RFP and ultimately move away from the American landfill, that would have an economic impact on other cities in Fresno County?
That's correct. The American Avenue landfill serves more than just the city of Fresno. It serves surrounding areas. So if we were to pull out, then the opportunity for the rate to increase would be there, and they would definitely see a rate increase. They've estimated at their level to about $40 a ton, and that would affect the surrounding areas.
Okay, that ultimately have a direct impact on ratepayers, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're trying to, have we talked to the other smaller cities about what they want to do? Are they willing to kind of join in? And of the American landfill, how much do we, the city of Fresno, how much is our portion compared to all the other cities?
We have the lion's share. It's
okay, over 50%.
Yeah, well over 50%. Yeah, we're closing in on about 72%.
So we generate a lot of trash, right?
Yeah, we're definitely a trash generating city. So.
Okay, so you just what do you need today then?
Just an approval for the city manager or his designee to sign the month to month until we're done with negotiations.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Zhang.
Sorry. Sorry, maybe I missed. You might have answered it to Member Brand. How far are we again?
Well, we're hoping to have something here in front of the council within 45 days.
Within 45 days? And do we feel pretty confident with that?
I think so, yes. After last meeting, which was Tuesday, it's changed dramatically. Yeah, I believe that we're going to have something within 45 days.
Bruce, I mean, this obviously they are our original partners, and is that kind of a preference that we're looking at instead of going out to an RFP and see what's out there in terms of possibilities?
One, we are part of this county, and they are a regional partner, and there is some consideration as to what we do at American and its impact one way or another to other cities, other members of this county. But with that, as we pointed out I think we had a very good meeting on Tuesday. It was a kind of an aha moment. I am very encouraged with the proposed rate that they pushed across the table on Tuesday. I can tell you that I think you will be pleased with the rate that the county is proposing. They need to refine the numbers to make sure that they're comfortable with it. The conversation that's going to happen, I will tell you there will need to be a conversation with the other cities, but they do recognize we are the anchor tenant. But we also recognize that some of the other alternatives that have been discussed, Avenal, Kettleman, and Madera, besides the impact it would have to the other cities within Fresno County, there's also just the logistics cost. And to get to American costs us a lot less money than to drive further away and so not only do you have your tipping charges, you have your transportation costs. We believe that within the next 45 days, maybe even sooner, but at least within the next 45 days, we'll be prepared to present to you something in closed session for your consideration.
Okay. No, and thank you for the staff's hard work in this. I know it started off a little bit interesting, but to see it get to this level, getting close, I think only benefits our taxpayers here in the city, and whatever we can do to still be a good steward of our residents here, but also good stewards to our surrounding cities is the thing that you guys have done a good job at. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You want to say something else, Bruce? Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Bruce or Jerry, I don't know which would be best to answer this, but we commissioned or we joined a study by Hilton, correct? That studied this situation, and is that study become public? Is that a public study, or does that stay within our? Did council members get a chance to review that? I mean,
we could, when we come back with the, in fact, we can make arrangements for Mr. Hilton to come up maybe in the closed session to show you the backup data that he used to come up, that we used in the process of negotiating a potential contract in terms and conditions. We'd be happy to provide you that data.
Yeah, I would like to see the raw data of that study myself. So if we can either do that in closed session, like you mentioned, or if you could set up an appointment with me, I'd like to go over that information. And so following up on that, in that study, was it part of the study to study what other competitors might offer the city of Fresno? Or was this study specifically, is American offering us a good price, a reasonable price?
It primarily focused on the ongoing costs as well as the future liability costs associated with that landfill, and what and how their tipping fee could be adjusted to provide us a price that's comparable, if not better, than what we're paying, but also provide them the ability to cover their long-term liabilities, such as closure costs. We didn't look at the other options as part of this study. No.
Okay. Well, so for me, I appreciate the fact that they did a study and they're trying to negotiate with American about a best price for the city of Fresno. But unless we hear from other waste facilities, we might not know if we're getting the best price for our ratepayers. So at some point, I'd like to include in a study what might also be out there beyond American. So I don't know. Can that be done prior to an RFP, or is that only within the framework?
It would be done in an RFP process. The other concept that you have to consider in that is that what they can ultimately give you is a rate. They can't give you post-closure and closure if they've never done it. So because the county has had another landfill and had closed it, they're a little more qualified to give us better historical data than someone who hasn't. So that would be it would be something we would have to really analyze, and it would be done through an RFP process.
Councilman Brand, thank you, Jerry.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bruce. Councilman Brand, you made a motion, and Councilman Zhang seconded. I was going to ask that we put a time frame on this. Jerry had just told us that we were looking to close the deal within 45 days. But say, for instance, that deal doesn't close. I don't want this to go on ongoing. Could you consider amending your motion with a not to exceed 3 months? At 3 months from now, if we don't have this deal done, I believe we need to go to an RFP. And that doubles, that's 90 days. That doubles the amount of time that Jerry's requesting.
Do you guys feel that's reasonable?
I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'll amend the motion to not exceed 90 days.
And Councilman Zhang, are you okay with that? All right, so now we have a motion to approve staff recommendation with the amendment that it's not to exceed 90 days, or we could move towards a RFP process. So any other? Okay, so have I taken public comment on this? Did I go out to the public?
I don't think you have.
Okay, any members of the public like to address this item? Yeah, I did, but we'll give everybody a second chance. All right, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We're on to item 2B, authorize the city of Fresno to enter into a 3-year agreement with California State University Fresno for $684,000 and change to provide police services at CSUF events. Chief Foster.
Good morning. Again, I'm here to ask the council to approve this particular item. And for the last 10 years, we've entered into an agreement to provide supplemental contract services with Fresno State for home football games and events at the Save Mart Center. And we've submitted policing plans for events based on the number of attendees, the required number of officers per attendees, required number of sergeant per officers, and community service officers based on vehicular traffic that's projected. These monies are encumbered by Fresno State for their budgetary planning, but we don't actually receive monies until after the event, where we bill Fresno State for the personnel costs and vehicles and equipment that were used for a particular event. And we have provisions in the agreement that if an event is canceled, then certainly those resources are needed. And if certainly we have a situation in the city of Fresno that we need those additional resources, we can cancel. So it's a staffing plan that's very similar to policing the Fresno Fair.
Right. Thank you, Chief Foster.
You're welcome.
Are there any members of the public that would like to address this item? Doesn't look like it. Up here at the dais, Councilman Capriolio, that's kind of in your district.
Yes,
so
it is.
We'll let
Thank
you
you.
go first.
And I'd like to make a motion. Thank you for your presentation, and make a motion to approve this item.
We have a motion to approve. So you punched up. All right, I already called your name. Any other council members? Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thanks, Chief.
Have a great day.
And I had a speaking engagement the same night as Chief Foster about a week ago, and he taught me the 5 B's of public speaking. Right? Look at that smile. Be brief, brother. Be brief. Thank you, Chief. All right.
Council President, I think that earns him the brevity award.
Yes, I think it
for
does.
this particular meeting.
All right, now we're on to item 2C, actions pertaining to frontline law enforcement operations. Approve the 2 parts. Approve the proposed spending plan for FY 214-215, California State Supplement Law Enforcement Services, and then a resolution, the 19th amendment of the annual appropriation resolution.
All right. Well, I went to the same class that Deputy Chief Foster went to. This is a pretty brief item as well. The item before you is the 2014-2015 SLESA grant. As you know, this is a grant that we've had since 1996. It goes towards frontline law enforcement, and the items that are listed in the spending plan, as you can see, are high priorities for the city of Fresno. If it were not for this grant, these are items that would have to be funded out of the general fund. Some of the items in there, I'm not going to read them all. You can read them for yourselves, but sexual assault kits, those are very important. Our Magic Lease, Skywatch, ammunition, tasers and parts related to the taser, ballistic vests, and some other items. We're very fortunate to have this grant. We're fortunate also that it's starting to increase in size as the state of California's economy improves. And so we're asking your approval for us to accept this grant.
Right. But this isn't any Abrams tanks or Bradley transport vehicles, right? It does?
No, it does not.
Okay, he's shaking his head, yeah.
Who was that? No, don't listen to him. No, it does not.
All right, thank you. Any members of the public like to address this item? All right, up here at council, any council members? Do you have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? Second. A motion and a second by Councilman Capriolio. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 2D, actions pertaining to the Office of Traffic Safety. Authorize the Chief of Police to enter and execute agreement and required program documents with the Office of Traffic Safety and a resolution to follow.
Good morning, Council President and council members. My name is Captain Andy Hall, and I'm the commander of your police department's traffic bureau. I'm proud to announce that today we've been awarded a grant from the Office of Traffic Safety for $966,490 to perform traffic safety operations in our city. These operations include a focus on strategies to reduce collisions, which include DUI checkpoint saturation patrols to remove DUI drivers from our street, speed enforcement operations, distracted driving, red light operation, and courtroom stings. On today's resolution, we're asking the council to authorize the chief of police to enter into an agreement with the California Office of Traffic Safety and to execute the traffic safety grant, and to appropriate $724,900 to execute this grant. The grant pays for mostly overtime and equipment to conduct these operations. It also includes fringe benefits with no in-kind contributions by the city. It's important to note that this grant also has no legacy cost, ongoing legacy cost incurred by the city. So once it's over, it's over. Asking the council to approve the resolution.
Thank you, Captain Hall. Are there any members of the public that would like to address this item? All right. If not, we're up here at council. Councilman Zhang.
Not really a question. Just want to make sure that I thank the city and the staff that's going after this grant that all cities have to go after. Taxpayers' money to bring back so that the cities can function. That without these type of efforts, whether we agree or disagree on where the pot comes from, that this is what we do and that's what the money goes to. So thank you again, and how we go about doing this, because we have to go look at everything that we can to make sure that we provide those resources for our community. Bruce, thanks.
Councilman Zhang, is there a motion in there?
Yep.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Do I have a second? And a second by Councilman Capriolio. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Captain Hall. All right. General Admin Item 2E, actions pertaining to funding park irrigation maintenance in FY 215, and that includes 2 resolutions.
Good morning, Council. Scott Mosier, Public Works Department. You'll be hearing both from the sending department and receiving department this morning. We've successfully gone through a lot of discussion with our city manager about the best way to provide park irrigation maintenance services in the city. Recently, the council, during council member reports and comments, also Council Member Brand had made that request as well. To look at moving park irrigation basically back to the Parks Department. Public Works has had that function over the past few budget fiscal years, and part of that was an initial budget reduction. What we've had is a total of 9 irrigation specialists, field staff, who deal with all the parks and also the median islands, landscape buffers, places like City Hall, Veterans Memorial, and various public facilities. The action before you, what it does is takes of that pool of 9 employees who work on a variety of irrigation systems, carves out our general fund appropriations, which is 5 employees, moves those from the Public Works Department back to Parks. We believe collectively that will provide better service to the community. As Public Works, even though we multitask and such, we have not had the weekend park presence. And so with Parks Department present on the weekend, also able to coordinate with the recreation side of the department for special events and such, we believe this will provide for a much more seamless operation. Also, of course, with the hiring of Mr. Molinero as full-time Parks Director, this also enables greater attention and focus in that area. So at this time, I just wanted to turn it over to my colleague, Parks Director Manuel Molinero, to add some comments as the receiving department.
Thank you very much. I would just like to bring to your attention if the transfer does occur, I don't want to raise your expectations and make you feel like every single park is going to turn green overnight. The one thing that I will assure you is the number of complaints that you're getting on the weekends for your irrigation systems operating. Because of the fact that we do have staff working 7 days a week, we will be able to get to that more quickly. I've already directed my staff to start looking at the type of systems that we have in place and really look to the future and see how we can possibly mechanize and use computerized systems more effectively. So hopefully over time we can be more judicious in watering, but making sure that we're getting a better spread as far as irrigation is concerned. It's going to take a while, but I think with a proper type of assessment and thought, we can probably manage the irrigation systems throughout the park system much more effectively than we have in the past. Be more than happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Council, just in closing, it is two resolutions. One is the PAR amendment, which moves the staff, and the second is the budget. On the budget side, in terms of appropriations, there is no additional general fund. It's simply a move between departments. And this takes care of not only the salaries, but it also takes care of moving the dollars for the water bills. It deals with moving the trucks and equipment, fleet charges, all those types of items. So everything that is housed within the park irrigation that's in Public Works all moves fully over to parks so that they're able to take care of what we're doing now. So, and again, glad to answer any questions. We'd recommend approval.
Thanks to both of you. Good presentation. I'm going to go out to the public first, and then we have a couple council members that have punched up. Any members of the public would like to address this item on our agenda? All right then. Councilman Brand.
First, I want to thank City Manager and Scott. I think it's a good move. We talked about this to make it more efficient on the irrigation systems in all our public parks as well as city easements and all other areas too, correct? Would this apply like to median landscapes?
Council, this does keep the four remaining irrigation specialists within the Public Works Department, and we wind up servicing over 1,200 irrigation systems citywide. We also have some private vendors. For example, we'll be bringing back an item next week, next council meeting, to award a monthly service contract. And so there are some vendor-provided services. But again, this deals with we would keep trails, median islands, buffers, and so on.
This is only parks then, right?
Which is really our main focus in public
But this only
works.
applies to parks, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Hey, Emmanuel, can I speak to you? Do you know how many acres we have of parks in Fresno?
Yeah, it's over 1,000 acres. I can't give you a specific number.
Yeah, and I know in the budget, well, since I've been here in 2009, I mean the Parks Department was decimated, by layoffs and fiscal concerns, and same for Public Works. Do you feel we have the manpower to bring up the parks to what they should be?
My initial assessment right now is you're probably understaffed, but I can't give you a definitive answer as to what you actually need. One of the things that the things that we are looking at right now is, how many irrigation specialists do we need to maintain the system, but more importantly, what type of technologies can we employ in the future so that we can provide a better irrigation program, probably with more people, but I'm trying to balance it with technology as opposed to bringing in additional staff. But until we have approximately 6 months to really evaluate the system, I really couldn't give you a definitive answer at this point.
Okay, so
but technology, I think, could really help us out.
Yeah, I mean, what I've read, just my own limited research as far as getting different controllers that are much more sophisticated in terms of measuring barometric pressure, optimal times, and so on.
Amount of rainfall, annual rainfall.
Right, that's a step in the right direction. But I've had some concerns from constituents, primarily on Woodward Park, my district, and everybody understands. One, there's two, and I'm assuming there's two problems. One is the irrigation system and having the manpower to maintain it, to properly make sure it works right. And the second one would be introduced, since we went into stage 2 on our water problem, that we have limited times to water. And those are the two primary factors, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Bermuda grass is very resilient. I know it'll come back. We can replace shrubs. But the concerns expressed on these large, mature trees that are 30, 40, 50 years old is that you lose a tree like that, I can't stick around another 30, 40 years to be here to enjoy it. So we need to really, focus our efforts, because this really, I think, is a crisis that's kind of under the radar right now in our city. Is like Roding Park, these really jewels that we have that have been here for so many years, and all these beautiful mature trees that do all kinds of other things other than just providing shade, that we can't let these things die. We have to find a solution. And you have any idea, any suggestions?
Councilman Brand, I share your concerns. Just off the top of my head, I think that probably the biggest challenge that we have is the fact that, yes, your turf will return. Your trees right now are being under great stress because of the lack of water that they're receiving. But I think it's probably more due to the fact that the type of irrigation system that was originally, or that's now being used on trees is inappropriate. You're using impact sprinklers. I've already talked to Tree Fresno. One of the things that I would like to do in the future is either come up with some sort of a drip system for each new tree that's being planted, or some sort of a bubbler, and we could separate, tree irrigation from turf irrigation in the future. So, exceptions could be made so you can maintain your urban forest, which to me is critical for the livelihood of all of our trees in order to sustain a healthy urban forest in this community.
Yeah, if this drought continues, which I think it will, I think it's critical from a policy point of view for the council and the city. Actually, I know you just came on, and the droughts worsened the past year. I think, there's a compelling reason for us to actually kind of kick this thing in high gear and formally adopt standards citywide that addresses the issue. And I think we have the resources to do it. And, time is not on our side as far as where we're going. And I know you mentioned Tree Fresno. There's a lot of volunteers there. I have people that I've talked to that are willing to volunteer to go out there, and some have skills that, as far as repairing irrigation. And you're right on as far as the main focus, which is the type. And farmers have learned this over the last 3 or 4 years. That by necessity, they have to be more efficient. The flood irrigation is gone. Everything is very, very sophisticated and precise to use as little water as possible to get the maximum yield. And so I'm going to send you an email. I'd like to meet with you and some others and really work on focusing on this issue here so we can hopefully come back to the council between now and the end of the year with a specific plan that's a citywide plan that would address the issue.
Great, thank you.
Okay, do you need I'm going to make a motion. Does anybody make a motion? Okay, thank you, Manuel.
Councilman Quintero.
Well, either one. Either one is fine. On the, have you set up a prioritization in terms of which park you want to address first, or a schedule of what you want to assess?
No, the only thing that we've done to date is we've started assessing the type of systems that we have in place right now for irrigation. We've not looked at specific parks. As far as a priority, my priorities right now would be, trees, and then sodded areas where we have sports fields. We're receiving a number of complaints from sports teams right now because the fields are, again, very stressed out. And, when you have a sports team that's paying hundreds of dollars to play out there, they expect a certain level of maintenance. And right now, we're not really providing that level of maintenance. So this is going to be one of our major concerns. But until I really have a chance to evaluate the entire park system and the irrigation systems that we have in place right now, I really couldn't give you a definitive answer as to where the priorities are.
Yeah, because my concern or interest was the ones that get the most use on the turf and that type of thing, with regards to the soccer parks, because soccer's year-round sport. It's not just seasonal. So, and in particular, the Pillabos Park gets a lot of use, and I mean, you can drive by there, and especially with the water situation, it just they're playing on wet dirt pretty much on the center of those 4 fields. Each one has their little center of dirt on there. That's a part that gets used. But if I'd really appreciate that you can look into those that gets the biggest use, or the areas especially for the soccer, because we get our annual number of calls regarding especially Pillabos, and then we have some at Mosqueda, and the one that gets a lot of use too is the real small one is the Sunnyside Park.
Right.
And now with regards to the water too, and maybe Bruce, you can answer this. We have 2 community gardens in Southeast. One at El Radka, and then the other one's over on Peach. What's going to happen to those? I mean,
well, at this point,
because I know they use a lot of water.
The one at Al Radka, not nearly as much as the one at Peach and Butler, and we've worked with Fresno Metro Ministries. I've went out and met with with Fresno Metro Ministries last year, probably 3 or 4 nights. Encouraged them to go to drip irrigation. Interestingly enough, most of the plots are all on drip. Unfortunately, they're drip systems that they were running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it literally
that's a concern. That's
and so we were very frank that unless we were able to see some improvements in the amount of water being consumed at that particular location, that we are going to have to start having a conversation about having participants pay for some of the water, because at that point, I think we were looking at a $30,000 to $35,000 a year water bill, and that was prior to the water rates going up. And so, Manuel can, if you could look at the consumption so far for this year, and I will make a pretty big assumption that we're going to have another conversation with Fresno Metro Ministry about the amount of water being used at that location.
Yeah, I had met with them earlier this year, and it mentioned the same thing to them, that that I thought they were overusing water on there, especially running at 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me how big of a plot of land one family's using. They got a big family, so I mean, I think we need to do a little bit better controls on that. And if you can keep my office updated on those two, I'd really appreciate it, because I think they're taking advantage of that.
We certainly will. And I would also like to add, in addition to just irrigation systems, one of the other things that I'd like to bring to the department, especially now that we're going to be taking over irrigation, is really bringing a different type of culture as far as the type of plants that we're putting in our parks. I believe xeriscape and low water consuming plants are probably something that we can use a lot more than we have in the past. Yes, we have to irrigate and water sports field. We have to take care of our trees. But there are a lot of areas, that are passive, and people don't need to have sodded areas, whereas we could have, areas where you have wildflowers, you have more native vegetation, which still provides a lot of visual relief to our residents, but doesn't consume as much water. So over time, hopefully we can make this transition.
I think once you're through, doing an assessment, if we could follow up with a workshop or just an updated report on what types of plants you're using and what are some of the plants, because we do get calls from constituents on the concerns that they have as well.
And I would also like to add that, to me, xeriscape or low water consuming plants is more than a cactus next to a rock. I mean, we really like to provide something that's attractive and beautiful.
I like cactuses. Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Councilman Zhang.
City Manager, since we're talking a little bit about the water thing, is there going to be an impact for us with the governor signing that underground regulation of the water?
We've talked to the city attorney as well as the public utilities director. We're still vetting through the regulations, but at some point in time, not just with parks, but with all of our wells, there's going to be some oversight as to the amount of groundwater that we extract from the aquifer. So yes, there potentially could be some impacts as to what we do at our parks.
It seems that the legislation is saying that part of that plan is going to be coming out of the local water districts. I guess on this side be Westland, and on the other be KFR City. I think is responsible for the other districts. So where are we in terms of that discussion with those that are supposed to come up with a plan for our state?
Actually, the new legislation will take a couple of years to implement. We are preparing a briefing to the council as to the process and what's involved with that.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we're engaged with the public entity that's in charge of that, because obviously that affects all of us. And at the end of the day, that's the direct impact for our residents here, is the parks and the water that we deliver to our residents. So I just want to make sure that we're at the table with the parties that are looking to see how we deal with this new regulation that's come down upon us. Thanks.
Councilman Capriolio.
Thank you, Council President. On the same topic, according to the news and meteorologists and all the studies, we're going to have another year of drought. So we have to continue to make these adjustments to accommodate our citizens and our city and our needs. And I agree with Councilmember Brand's assessment and the need for some policy development. And I'd like to join you, if I may, in working up that drought relief, if you will, and assist our city in getting the most out of our water system. So I appreciate that if you'd include me. Thank you.
All right, the screen is clear. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Scott Manuel. Good job. The last item on general admin is 2F. It's an award and extension of the 5-year lease purchase financing agreement with Kansas State Bank in the amount of $3,635,000 at an annual interest rate of 3.389% to acquire police vehicles and parks vehicles, and authorize the controller or designee to execute that same agreement.
Good morning, Council Member, Council President. Jim Shad with the Department of Transportation. This item we are asking for approval to enter into, or actually extend an agreement with Kansas State Bank. We've previously utilized their services for 50 patrol cars last year, and this is just a continuation of, I would say, improving the condition of our fleet. We had deferred replacements of most general fund vehicles for several years, and this would allow us to improve the condition of our fleet, which is, I would say, behind schedule on replacements, and provide fleet's customers with the appropriate tools to do their job. The majority of the equipment is for police department, and there is a small portion of vehicles for the parks department, both general fund departments. And if you have any questions,
Jim, are the 82 police vehicles, are those cruisers, the police
there are 50
automobiles?
Cruisers, 50 patrol cars, and then there's a portion of motorcycles, traffic enforcement motorcycles, K-9 units, and some command vehicles.
All right, cool. Thank you, Jim. I'm going to open this up to the public and then come back up to council. Any members of the public would like to address this item? All right then, Councilman Brand.
I have a few questions. What is a normal life cycle on a police car?
Normal life cycle we've been using is 5 years.
But we went well beyond that, right?
Pardon me?
We went beyond that.
We're way beyond that. We're in the 7-8 year range, and the patrol cars we will be replacing will be at least 7 years old. We also use a mileage threshold too, which is 100,000 miles. Typically, we have some that are in the 120, 150, close to 200,000 mile range now.
What is the total fleet for the PD?
The total patrol car fleet is 250, roughly.
Okay, so this is a substantial amount, and I know there's a business decision when you reach, you stretch it out. Okay, you save money because you're not getting a new lease, but then again, your cost per mile's got to go up, right? Once you get past 100,000 miles.
We've looked at that, and it has started to accelerate.
Okay, and I know that's typically the model we use, right? Leasing for police cars.
We had a replacement fund for patrol cars as well as many other general fund pieces of equipment, but we utilized that money. The city decided to use that money for other purposes when we had our economic downturn.
Okay, so the recession really,
Yes.
I'm assuming that the previous model was we had a capital fund that was set aside and so every 5 years we'd have money to purchase new vehicles. That money was spent. So now we're more compelled to go into leasing?
Yes.
Okay. And is that the same on, you mentioned parks trucks. I think I know buses and garbage trucks are different. Well, I know the garbage trucks have an issue, city manager, right? So But how about buses? The buses are different funding on purchase?
It's a different funding, and there's a fleet replacement plan, and there's capital dollars set aside through various grants or other sources to fund that plan. So I think of all the departments, FACTS is probably the only one that has a actual replacement fund. And as Jim pointed out, when the economy and the general fund began to see the stresses of the downturn in the economy, one of the very first places, as some of you will remember, that we went to try to balance budgets is we went after reserves, any reserves that were available to us. So what happened is, as a result of that, we deferred the replacement of vehicles. We stretched them from 4 to 5 to 7 to 8, and this is just a second step in a process of rebuilding that fleet, both in the police department as well as the other general fund departments.
And the fire department, I know we bought some trucks and engines this year, but same situation there too.
Same, and we're also in those cases we're doing leases with the fire department as well.
Okay. And I know in the past the police cruisers were Dodges, right, with the 6-cylinder engines. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Is that the same thing we're sticking with?
We will be buying Dodge Chargers for the patrol cars with 6 cylinders. Yes.
Okay. I know this is new and I know the cost, but in the future, with the rapid development of technology on electric cars, I know there was an article recently about was it Clovis or one of the cities had electric motorcycles too.
Yes.
We looked.
Is
the cost prohibitive right now?
My personal opinion is I don't think that technology has evolved enough to put them in a frontline service like
Okay,
patrol.
in terms of performance and all that, and cost.
It usually comes to a range issue. You can't get the range out of the vehicle to sustain the length of time that the vehicle has to be in service without charging.
Okay. This is a 5-year lease?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say between now and when these expire, that as technology improves, we can take a look at that.
Yes.
Both in terms of, I know like the Fiats are 90 miles on their range, but I'm sure 5 years from now that probably be up to 200 or 300 miles. The cost goes down. I'm assuming that there's federal and state money available on electric cars?
There is electric cars, but it is grant funding available. But as Jim pointed out right now, I would say the technology from a police cruiser application, it's not ready for prime time. It's 80, 90 miles. There's other performance issues. And not only is it the miles, in the case of a police application, there is idling time or time in which, because of whatever the K9 units, for example, the AC has to continue to run, and electric vehicles make that somewhat of a challenge. Andy's sitting in the back, and I'll point out that Harley Davidson allegedly has an electric motorcycle that's coming out soon, but I don't think it's going to be appropriate for Andy's operation either. But we'll keep an eye on the technology and see how it.
So we're getting the BMWs on the motorcycles, right?
Yes, we are. Yeah. I would like to see how those work out for Clovis, to be honest with you, the electric motorcycle.
No, I agree. I maybe sometime in the future we can look at a pilot program, and as the technology develops, the cost, potential for state or federal grants to do that.
We have been keeping our eye on the state and federal grants. I think there are some more appropriate applications for those electric vehicles within the entire city fleet.
Like for parks or other yeah. I can see the difference in terms of demands and uses. Okay, I'll make a motion then. We approve this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Councilman Brand, did you envision our police force operating in the little 500, the Fiat 500Es?
I was thinking more about the Batmobile.
What happens if it's a K9 unit? There's not room for the extra dog in there.
We'll get Chihuahuas.
Okay.
We'll downsize. We'll downsize the dog.
All right. Okay. All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second? All right. Second by Councilman Olivier. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right. And that is it for our general admin portion. We have a 9:50 scheduled. That's it. Our clock's not working back. Oh, so we're clear by 10 minutes. All right. The 9:50 timed item is an item to approve a resolution for substantial amendment number 2012-002 and some others to the fiscal years 2012, 2013, 2014 annual action plans to incorporate the planned use of the Emergency Solutions Grant funds. And what
Council
department?
President, I think it shows that item being continued to October 30th.
It shows that, oh,
So the next item is the 10 o'clock.
oh, right on. So we didn't have, all right, so we can just move to the 10 o'clock. All right. The 10 o'clock timed item is ID 14-382, TEFRA hearing as required by Section 147 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. And I'm going to let our Finance Department tell us about that.
Absolutely. Good morning, Council. This is an administrative function required of Council. It's required by Section 147 of the Internal Revenue Code to allow an applicant to consider issuing tax-exempt bond financing. The bonds would be issued by California Statewide Communities Development Authority to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation of a 150-unit multifamily low-income residential rental project, commonly known as Kearney Coley Plaza. The aggregate amount of the principal on the bonds would not exceed $11 million. The adoption of this resolution is the first step in a process for this applicant. These new tax-exempt obligations, as I mentioned, would be issued by California Statewide Communities Development Authority. And because the project is located in the Fresno jurisdiction, Council must hold a public hearing. Should the city authorize the issuance of these bonds, the city would not have any obligation or liability associated with the financing of these projects. You're simply here to provide authorization for the issuers to issue the tax-exempt bonds. We published a notice 14 days prior to this hearing as required, and we received no written testimony. As I mentioned again, the city has no obligation or liability associated with the financing. I communicated with Councilmember Brand's office, as it was in his district, and his staff informed me that he is supportive of the project and has met with the project development group. With us today is also Lori Doyle, the Vice President of Development with Real Estate Development Services. She would be more than happy to respond to any detailed questions you might have.
All right, any members of the public like to address this item? Up here at council, and you had mentioned Council Brand, but he walked away. Are there any council members that would like to ask a question or make a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion to approve. Do I have a second? We have a second by Councilman Olivier.
If I could make one correction, excuse me, it was Council Bain's district. Yes.
Oh, it's in Councilman Bain's
Yes,
district?
it is.
Okay.
My mistake.
All right, thank you, Karen. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Karen. Let's see. Now, the 1010 item on our agenda has been continued, requested by Councilman Capriolio, and so we are on the 1015 item. That's a hearing to consider adoption of resolutions related to the designation of properties to the local register of historic resources. And it's a whole batch of them.
Right, and we're a little early. We may have some property owners coming in a few minutes because it was 10:15
We're
item.
early.
So we are early.
How early
which
are we?
is-
You know, our clock is not working, Corona, so, oh yeah, we actually can't start then for
I'm going to
9
load
morning.
up the presentation while you wait. Yeah.
Okay. You know what, Corona, in that, while we're waiting then, I'm going to open for unscheduled communication. If there's any members of the public that would like to address any item on today's agenda or not on today's agenda, now's a good time. All right. All right, I think we've really run out of items that we can really cover in the next 8 minutes. So we'll come back in 8 minutes for the 10:15 item. And so I guess that is technically a break, council members, but not much of a break. We won't be able to do anything in 8 minutes, so we'll knock this out.
The owners through the Historic Preservation Commission, and this will be fast and mostly pretty pictures. And as you know, the Historic Preservation Ordinance is found at Fresno Municipal Code 12-1600. The council adopted the ordinance in 1979 that established the Historic Preservation Commission and the local register. And the local register criteria are listed here. Of course, they're attached to your packets. Basically, a property has to usually be 50 years of age, have integrity to its period of significance, and have historic significance in one or more areas. And why bother to designate something besides the honor? You can use the California Historical Building Code. There's some flexibility in current zoning codes. For commercial properties, there's a 10 or 20% federal tax credit. And right now, we're waiting for the governor to hopefully pass and sign a California state tax credit. So our commercial buildings on Fulton Mall may get some extra help, which would be pretty cool. Sense of place, heritage tourism, also very green to recycle buildings, not necessarily throw them in the dump. Okay, the protocols for listing located at 12-1609. Again, the request to list can be brought by you, the council, the commission, the secretary, or, as in this case, the property owners, the 7 property owners who really value their beautiful homes. We noticed the properties in the Fresno Bee as required. A little bit about Huntington Boulevard. I think people think the houses came first. Actually, the streetcar system came first. It was put in by Wishon in 1907 to take patrons to a park he had just purchased. And then 4 years later, as often is the case, they built this great streetcar suburb. Here's Huntington Boulevard that we all know and love. And I heard recently a great quote that it's considered one of the great boulevards in the world, not even the state. And this came from a Berkeley architect and professor, Daniel Solomon, who's very well thought of. So that's kind of neat. And here's what Recreation Park looked like and why Wishon was building this streetcar down what is now the middle of Huntington Boulevard. And the 7 properties, very quickly. The Ralph and Jenny Watson home at 3537 East Huntington, built by and for Jenny Watson by her father, Albert Wishon. Gorgeous Tudor revival. I'm sure you've all seen it. It used to be an entire block, and now this is the circular driveway in front of the house. Absolutely beautiful. And the next property is the CM and Gertrude Prescott home at 3707 East Huntington. Again, another great Tudor-style home with that half-timbering, faux half-timbering you see in England. If you've ever been to, Shakespeare's productions and whatever, this is not structural, but it's absolutely beautiful the way it's done. Built for the Prescott family, who were very important in local lumber. The Fred J. and Mary Dow home on Huntington, 3369, a really sweet one-story cross-gabled Tudor with really wonderful Art Deco windows and detailing. Here's the interior of the dining room. Really a beautiful property. Clarence and Bessie Bernhauer home, and by the way, homes are named for the original owners, not for who owns it now. And that's at 3428 East Huntington. That is a Italian Renaissance revival style home that's still on a half-acre parcel. And it used to have private tennis courts, as many of those properties on Huntington did. Mr. Bernhauer was the vice president of the Fresno Planing Mill. A lot of lumber guys out there. The Sporlater home, 3702 East Huntington, also on the south side of the street, built in 1926 by the contracting firm of Fisher and McNulty. Sporlater was the owner of the Hollenbeck Bush planing mill, which was founded in Fresno in 1890. And this still has a sleeping porch on the rear of the home. Many of you may recall that that's the way you kept cool in the summer. You didn't have air conditioning. Really lovely property. The Billings home, Fred and Virginia Billings home, 3650 East Huntington, also on the south side of the street. Colonial Revival home, 1938, designed by Charles Butner, who had a firm, Glass and Butner, that constructed many very well-known buildings, including the Republican Printery building, which is now, of course, the Downtown Club. Fred Billings was very important. He and his business partner acquired the tract and completed the infrastructure and basically marketed the subdivision. And he's important also. Billings is also important in civic affairs. He served as the first chair of the County Planning Commission. So again, very important. And here's a shot looking across the street, across the median that of course used to have the streetcar on it. And last but not least, the Eugene and Elsie Brinker home. And I will say the property owners are here for this house. Others were not able to come. Somebody's over in Hollister working right now, as a matter of fact. The Brinker home, charming Tudor revival cottage constructed in 1930. The home is really distinct architecturally for that hexagonal bay window, the decorative strap work that you've already seen, and also just as a one-story Tudor. Tudors are usually two-story. So, staff recommendation, Historic Preservation Commission held 2 noticed public hearings, July 28th and August 25th, found that the 7 properties were eligible for individual listing on the local register of historic resources. The commission and staff hereby forward these nominations to you for consideration and recommend adoption of the resolutions. And I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Karana. We'll go out to the public and then we'll come back up to Councilman Quintero. Are there any members of the public that would like to talk about this item? Feel free to come on up. Yep. And you each get 3 minutes and just tell us who you are, and we appreciate it.
My name's Joanna Salazar, and I'm one of the homeowners. We actually own the Brinker home. And I just wanted to say thank you to the council members for hearing this item. As we, the community, begin to revitalize the downtown area, I believe that establishing and recognizing these historical areas is key to reestablishing the prestige that the downtown area once was. Though this just establishes our homes as historical sites, the bigger picture, I believe, is that the city recognizes its past and it plans for the future. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of our homes for taking up this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Salazar.
Good morning. My name is Melissa Black, and I own the house at 3702 East Huntington Boulevard, and I'm really pleased to be here with you all. Thank you for your consideration on these resolutions. And I would just like to ditto what my neighbor just said. I came to Huntington Boulevard 2.5 years ago from Tucson, Arizona, where we have a very successful downtown revitalization process ongoing there. And so I purchased by downtown for that very reason. So appreciate your attention to what you're doing for our city and how the historical roots of Fresno have been just amazing to find out about. I'm not from this area. So keep up the good work, and we hope that you pass our resolution. And this also comes from our Homeowners Association board, that we really appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining our community. Are there any other members of the public that would like to address this item? All right, Councilman Quintero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Karana, and congratulations to the homeowners that are on the list today. I have to say the Salazar family continues to make history. Her husband and brother-in-law were both in the Softball World Series, and I believe they're in the Softball Hall of Fame as well. So they brought a lot of notoriety, good notoriety to the city of Fresno. So you continue to help make history, and appreciate that, but also want to thank the families and the association, but as well as Karana. Karana, I know your plate's been full for a while, and you got to it when you could, and you've done a really good job, and want to thank you for that. I have one quick question. In terms of the homes that are designated historical, is there anything that the city does in terms of making sure that once a property's been designated historical, that it's maintained to a certain level?
That's a great question. The ordinance includes a minimum maintenance section, so beyond just normal code violations or code concerns, there are concerns for keeping up the property and its historic elements and historic value, character defining features. So yes, and in fact, we just had a a review of one or two properties recently where they're not in the best shape, and we're trying to work with the property owner, not in Huntington, but in the Lowell district. So yes, we do try to do the best we can to track that.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking, I was a little bit concerned about the Soroyan home over on, I believe it's El Monte or Montecito. Right behind Ventura Market in terms of the front of it. You can't really see the plaque anymore.
And any concerns you have, that's new to me. I really depend upon the eyes on the street and members of the community and phone calls and emails. So I'll try to look into that right away.
Well, from my eyes to your ears.
Thank you.
So
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for all your work, and congratulations to the property owners. And I'm sure once now that they've started the ball rolling, there'll be other homes and other families that'll want to participate in the designation. So, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to approve. Thank you.
All right. We have a motion to approve and a second.
Council, that's to approve all 7 resolutions.
Yeah, we can do it all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, as long as it's clear that it's all 7 of them.
Okay, so we're voting on all 7 at the same time. And so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0 unanimously. Thank you to our people from the neighborhood, and thank you for Krana. We appreciate that. On to the 10:30 timed item. That's a hearing to consider an official plan line modification and related environmental assessment to a property on West McKinley from North Blythe to North Marks Avenue.
Good morning, Council President Brandow, members of the council. Boy, Corona is a tough act to follow, talking about all those beautiful homes, and
Right.
now
Yep.
on we go to official plan lines. I am not on your staff report this morning, but as Lauren Felice's supervisor, I wanted to introduce her to you. Lauren Felice is going to give the presentation this morning, and she is a new planner with our department, new to you anyway. She's been with us since November, and she comes to us with experience in not only land use planning, but some water planning and rural planning as well. So we are very happy to have her on our staff. And I also wanted to add another note that you see Public Works as the sponsor on your agenda this morning, and Public Works definitely is the technical expert on this item. We work hand in hand with Public Works on these because in fact, official plan lines are plans, and they also come under the purview of our planning process in the Fresno Municipal Code. So it's a teamed item, and here's Lauren.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Lauren.
Good morning. Let's get started. Consideration of an official plan line modification for West McKinley Avenue and the related environmental assessment, number EA 14018, is being heard today. Oops, now how do I? Next? Just the button? It's not working. Okay. There it goes. Okay. Wrong side. The vicinity map for the project shows the progression of West McKinley Avenue's OPL from North Blythe Avenue to about 265 feet east of North Marks Avenue. And again, here we have an aerial photograph showing the extension of the West McKinley OPL. The project is the proposal of an OPL modification solely for the purpose of clarifying the existing plan line identified in the City of Fresno's 2025 General Plan. No improvements are proposed at this time. The street will be improved incrementally as adjacent properties will develop, and the OPL modification is to establish a narrower cross-section for this section of the West McKinley Avenue in the right-of-way to accommodate existing development of adjacent surrounding properties. This is the planned land use map, and as you can see, it is predominantly residential in nature. Public participation, the neighborhood meeting was held on May 29th of this year. The EA was published in the Fresno Bee on July 18th. Public notices were mailed on August 8th. The Planning Commission recommended approval on August 20th, and no comments have yet to be received in opposition of the project. This is the official plan line plat map, and I do have cross sections if you have questions about any specific area. Staff recommendation is to adopt a finding of conformity to the 2025 Fresno General Plan Master Environmental Impact Report and a mitigated negative declaration number A0901 prepared for environmental assessment application number EA14018. Adopt a bill approving the map entitled Official Plan Line Modification for West McKinley Avenue alignment from North Blythe Avenue to approximately 265 feet east of North Marks Avenue. Do we have any questions?
Is that it, Lauren?
Yeah, that's
Okay, so what we do is now we go out to the public. I probably won't get anything today, and then we come back up to council. So are there any members of the public that would like to address this item? Seeing none, we're back up here at council. I believe, Lauren, that this is Councilman Bain's district?
Yes, I believe so.
It is, okay. And so he's not here today. Normally we go to the council whose district that is connected to the project. So he's not here, so we have a motion from Councilman Zhang, and we have a second by Councilman Capriolio. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Councilman.
Right, now, Madam Clerk, am I missing anything, or do we mostly have until the afternoon closed session right now?
We have two other closed session items that we could do right now, and then come back at 3 o'clock for the other closed session item.
Okay. So we are going to go into closed session. So, City Attorney, if you could announce what this is about.
Right. We first have conference with labor negotiators concerning all of the listed bargaining units as well as the unrepresented employees. And then also we have conference with legal counsel concerning existing litigation on the Maldonado case. And then we will be returning after lunch at 3 o'clock for a closed session concerning real property on Chachansey Park.
All right,
and
thank you.
The
Any
public is
members?
allowed to comment before we go into closed session.
What's that?
The public is allowed
Yes,
to comment
yeah.
before we go
I
in.
was just going to ask, are there any members of the public that would like to address these closed session items? All right, then we're going to adjourn to closed session at this point and come back and report after. Public session in the afternoon started. Right now we have one final item. It's a timed item for 3:45, ID 14-362. It's a hearing to consider a plan amendment application, and it is in District 2, which is the best district in town.
Okay, very good. Staff has nothing further to add. We do recommend approval of the environmental assessment, the planning amendment, and the rezone. And just briefly for the record, this is a 80 units of senior luxury housing, and it's located at the intersection of Fig Garden Drive and Gates. And I don't believe there's anybody in the audience to speak in opposition, but the applicant is here if you'd like to speak with him. And I'd be happy to answer any of the questions.
All right, thank you. So would any members of the public like to address this item? Just please step up to the microphone and introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes.
I'll take a lot less than that. I know we're in a hurry. My name is Giorgio Russo. I reside at 2014 West Alluvial in Fresno, and I represent Ginder Development in this project. We're just developing some of the usual things we built, which is high-end apartment communities for senior or the active adult, 55 and older. They are more like residential homes with attached garages, and everyone has a little backyard, and the units are very nice, and we have a very good response from the community with this product. If you have any questions or anything in particular, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you.
It was easy. Thank you.
Yep. Any other members of the public that would like to comment on this item? All right. Then, if not, we'll bring it back up to council. And so, being that it's in District 2, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this item and staff recommendation. So, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Screen is clear. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. That was pretty easy, huh? Thank you. City Clerk, did I skip over or miss anything today, or are we completely done now? All right. Then we are going to adjourn our meeting. Thank you.